Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank Sheila and ENERGIA for giving us this opportunity to share with you our experience in Cambodia in terms of looking at gender from a portfolio perspective, energy and environment portfolio. Basically, this work that we undertook is actually a partnership with ENERGIA. ENERGIA provided technical and financial support to the work in Cambodia. They worked together with us, regional center, UNDP regional center in Bangkok. And this partnership has been good. I mean, this is a partnership that has gone a long way. We started in 2007, and they have been really supportive and instrumental in the success, if I can call it a success. I mean, it's wrong of me to say it's a success, but I'm sure when this evaluation is done, we will demonstrate that this is really a success in Cambodia. As I said, this work in Cambodia started when we did a study in 2006 and 2007. It was actually an energy poverty gap assessment that was done, actually from 2005 to 6, and it looked at the energy poverty gender nexus, how energy deprivation of energy contributes to poverty, how poverty contributes to energy deprivation, and how does gender fit into this whole equation. We did an assessment, and Soma actually was our lead consultant for this assessment on the gender component. And we came out with this publication, which is a publication that is, even today, is in high demand from a lot of our partners. And following this, we had a regional workshop. Actually, it was an ENERGIA workshop where UNDP requested that we be partners in this workshop. It was a Asia Pacific workshop, which we call the Chiang Mai Practitioners Training Workshop, which was held in 2007. Now here we brought together 9 UNDP country office colleagues together with ENERGIA focal points and their partners in the countries of the region. And we looked at how we should do gender mainstreaming of projects. Then we decided, okay, it's time that we need to move on to real work in the countries. And the decision was whether we should just look at energy projects or we should go beyond energy projects. And the general opinion of my colleagues in the regional center was that we should look at the entire portfolio, the energy and environment portfolio of the country offices. So we decided that let's start with one as an experiment, as a pilot, not so much an experiment, as a pilot, and then to demonstrate how it works. Sorry, is there?
Sorry, we are, I find one of our speakers just arrived, I think.
Hello everyone. How are you?
All right, let me continue.
Sorry.
Okay, so we looked at the entire portfolio of Cambodia, and we selected some of the projects. Now, the reason why we chose the portfolio approach was simply because it will engage a wider set of audience, and also it will bring in higher levels of audience. I mean, stakeholders. Sorry. The reason is, when you look at portfolio, you're looking at, bringing management into the whole work. The UNDP's senior management, our partners' senior management, government ministries, project staff, community leaders, suppliers. So everybody is involved, if we take a portfolio approach, rather than just looking at one particular project, and then when we are looking at just one project, people pay less attention. So we thought it will be useful to engage and influence a wider set of stakeholders. And of course, when you bring a number of projects together, we also converge the synergies, because we can draw resources from all the projects into one to run training workshops, capacity development, reviewing tools, looking at the tools that I used. So it was useful to engage and then also look at how one project can contribute to the other. So it was important for us to converge synergies. And at the same time, of course, share the knowledge and support one another. So that projects can actually support each other rather than each project work in silos. And finally, of course, the whole aim is to take the lessons learned from this work to future UNDP programming and project designs. Now, in Cambodia, the portfolio we chose is this, basically a number of energy, environment, climate change projects. These projects were at different stages of implementation. Some were in the very early stages, where we can really go in and do some good work from the beginning, and some were towards the end already. We also, like for example, the first project, which is promoting climate resilient water resource management, was a project that was already ongoing, started a year earlier, so it was a good timing for us to get in and to relook at some of the gender issues. The second project, conservation areas through landscape management, was a project that was almost coming to its completion. So we had to look at how we should look at it, and then maybe that will give us an opportunity for future programming, future design of continuation of these projects. And of course, these projects, when the work is done, when the funding stops, it doesn't mean the projects come to an end. The work continues, so it's important that we leave behind this work on gender so that it's continued. The third project, Sustainable Forest Management and Bioenergy, is a new project just about to be launched. In fact, it's going to be launched next month, started next month, and the timing was good for us to get in there. And then we had the Small Grants Project, which is Cambodia Community-Based Adaptation. We had Cambodia Climate Change Alliance. And we also looked at an advocacy document, the National Human Development Report, which was focusing on climate change, rural livelihoods, and also the strategy document, Cambodia Country Program Action Plan for Environment and Climate Change. So we looked at different projects and also looked at some of the strategy documents, advocacy documents in the process. In fact, one of the main piece of work that we did, or main output I would call, is the Gender Action Plan. It was a very, very elaborate process which required a lot of investments in terms of time from the various stakeholders. And at the end of it, it was really a useful piece of exercise that we did. Of course, ENERGIA led this entire exercise where we came up with gender goals, identified the activities and the budget that's required for each activity, the indicators to perform, to measure progress, as well as monitoring and evaluation plan. In terms of process, it was document review, stakeholder consultations. We had a training workshop on gender mainstreaming, which was extremely important and necessary, because when we started, we did a survey to understand the knowledge of the stakeholders, of the partners in the project, basically the project team, the government agencies, UNDP country office colleagues, as well as other partner institutions within each of the projects. So we looked at all of them, we brought them together, we had consultations, we identified what was the training needs, what were the problems, what are the issues that they were facing in terms of gender mainstreaming. So based on all that surveys, we then designed a workshop which we implemented. Of course, the workshop was led by our colleagues from ENERGIA. ENERGIA, I must say, is Soma, Anuja, Ferry, and Anna. So, if you have any questions and details, Then, of course, we move on to the field work, where it was useful that the consultants, ENERGIA consultants, I will call them consultants in the stage, they went along with the teams to look at a particular one sample, and then they did a field work, showed them how to do the field work, how to collect data, how to conduct the interviews, how to be observant, And after collecting the data, we sat down together and we did an assessment, an analysis of the data, and an assessment of the issues and the gaps. And then they worked, of course, it's a lot of consultation that takes place after that, further reviews of documents, looking at budgets, looking at the outputs of the project itself and the outcome, and then designing what are the activities that needs to be conducted in order to carry out and implement this action plan. And so we came up with this gender action plan that comprises the goals, the activities, indicators, and the plan, M&E plan. And now we have moved on to implementation. It's been a one-year exercise so far. We started in October 2010, and we had one evaluation workshop in November this year. That was last month. And a lot of time has been invested in engaging partners, stakeholders, coming out with the action plan. Some of the challenges that we faced, I'm only going to say a few things. First, of course, is the knowledge and capacity. Of course, I don't have to go into details of this, but that's one of the major problems we always face. A lot of people have good intentions. A lot of people have a lot of motivations. Yes, we want to do gender mainstreaming. Yes, we want to make sure that men's and women's priority are taken care of, their needs are addressed, all good intentions, good words, but they don't really mean anything. If you really don't have the skill and the capacity to transform that motivation. It's a prerequisite, of course. You have to be motivated in the first instance. But if you do not have the knowledge and the skill, it doesn't make anything. I have colleagues, I shouldn't be talking about my own colleagues, but I have colleagues who say, we must do gender mainstream, but they really don't know what it means. It's really a black box.
Yes.
So the first instant is actually we need to empower ourselves. We need to empower the project teams. We need to empower the partners, the stakeholders of the projects. Once they are empowered, then they will do the empowering later on of the women. So that was the first point that we discovered in our work as we were going along, that it's so important. And when they went down to the field and did the interviews and sat down and analyzed, they themselves discovered there's so many things that they missed out when they were designing the project, when they were working out the implementation plan. So knowledge and capacity is important. And we should, of course, start right by making sure we only engage people who have this particular knowledge and skills. So this is one of the recommendations that we are making to our regional center and our colleagues in the regional center who are important players in deciding who is recruited for the projects. The next time, gender sensitive people are important to be recruited. Second is institutional support. Again, the same problem, A lot of institutions come and say, yes, we want to do this. We are supportive of this, but they really are not in a position to understand what we want to do. We found that the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Women Affairs in Cambodia were keen and interested in doing the work, but they did not have the technical knowledge or the understanding of what it takes to do gender mainstreaming. All they think is just give them a little budget and it'll be done. But they don't realize it is beyond just giving a little budget. It is beyond just allocating one person to be in charge. Everybody has to do it. Of course, in the process, we were racing against time. As I said, some of the projects were already being implemented. They were nearing completion. So we were basically racing against time. And as I mentioned, gender, I mentioned to some of the colleagues here earlier, gender is often an afterthought. We design a project, and then we take the document and say, okay, where's the gender focal point? Give it to him, or give it to her, and say, please engender this document for us. So what they do is just engender the document. They'll make sure they have the right words, gender sensitive, sex desegregated data, and training for men and women. So all those good words are there in the document. The document becomes engendered, but not the work. And so it is so important that, when we design projects, we need to start early. And of course, budget allocation, always an issue. When we say, oh, we need to do some gender work, they say, okay, there's no budget. Or I need to look for extra budget. We are talking about development effectiveness. Development effectiveness will only happen if we understand that piece of activity that we are doing, whether it's reaching the social group that we are targeting, whether it is reaching the men and women that we are targeting. It is the same budget that we need to relook at. This is exactly what we are telling the projects. You shouldn't be looking for extra budget. Just look at, each project is about a few $1 million. The projects that we are implementing in Cambodia and elsewhere. And you have a few $1 million in your hand, and you're supposed to do certain activities. What are you really doing? I don't have to go into examples. All of you spoke about it yesterday. How are we really looking whether this is really reaching the target groups? Or are we just simply conducting a training for the training's sake? Are we simply doing a little irrigation project for the sake of doing the project, getting the contractors to do the canals? Or are we really making sure those activities are really bringing the benefits to the target groups? And when we start looking at that, then we will realize that it is important that money is channeled to the right activities for the men and for the women. So it is just a re-looking at the budget that we already have, which is a priority. And this is what we are stressing now in all our projects. And it's a good experience that we went through this so that we are actually telling our colleagues, okay, I'll go through fast.
Sorry, Rajan, I have to
Yeah.
do one more minute because we're...
Sure. Okay, early recommendations, moving ahead. As I mentioned earlier, we start early. We do it when we are designing the projects. This is what is the message that is going out to the country offices. This is the message going out to the technical support that comes from the regional centers. Start early. Start looking at the documents from the beginning. When you design, make sure gender is incorporated. We need champions at every level. Not just at the community level, but even at the community office level, at the district level, at the provincial level, at the ministerial level, in the UNDP country office, even in the regional center. We have to have champions all over, and so that they can then make it happen. If we don't have enough champions around, people are going to have difficulties. I don't have to say, gender is not an easy job. So we need to have champions all over. Make portfolio managers accountable. Gender has to be part of the KRA, key results areas, and part of the KPI, the performance indicators. We are pushing for this. We are now having discussions. We have that, but people don't take it very seriously. But we really want to see how is it defined? What are the indicators? How are they defined? So this is what we are recommending to our own team, that we need to make gender part of our portfolio managers' results. Next steps. This is just the beginning. Gender work is an ongoing work. It takes a long time. It takes many years to really achieve what we want to target. And in Cambodia, this is only the beginning. We have just achieved the gender action plans and they're just starting the implementation. It's a long way. We will learn lessons. We will use these lessons to improve ourselves. We are planning to replicate this while we are learning, continuing to do this work in Cambodia. We have so far identified Bhutan and the Philippines, and we want to spread this work so that we will reach out to more country offices and make sure that they work, look at gender at the portfolio level, because then we can bring together the synergies and the stakeholders. Thank you.